Hello everybody and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
It's Monday. We had all 10 games at the weekend, which feels like it hasn't happened for a while because we've had some Monday night football. Probably feels like we haven't had football for a while.
Yeah, welcome back to Premier League after 2 weeks of watching England smash minnows. No disrespect to Albania now, but you know, I've been doing without the 10-0s in my life and stuff like that. So,
No.
Welcome back to the Premier League, and it's going to be fast and heavy over the next kind of 6 weeks or so. Certainly till we get beyond the New Year's Day fixtures. Then we've got the FA Cup third round. There is a lot of, I think we've got 9 game weeks in about five weeks or so.
Oh, wow, okay.
So it'll be heavy.
Yeah, a lot.
Good. I mean, it's the best
stuff.
time of the year, right?
Exactly. A lot can be made and broken during this time. How was your game week?
Good. Not as good as Suj's, though, which we want to talk about in more detail because Suj is having a bit of a flyer at the moment, actually. 72 points, which I take gladly all day long.
Average was 57, which is not indicative of the average, in my opinion, because
of course it's not.
You've got the 6 million
minus 56
robots.
teams.
Yeah. You've got the robots. So I reckon a realistic average is probably more around mid-60s, mid to low 60s.
Higher.
You think even higher than that?
I think top 10k was basically where I was, sort of 71 or something like that. Yeah. I mean, think about it. Cancelo, Trent, Chilwell, James, which has become the holy trinity basically of a back four in FPL. That's 48 points. You put Mo Salah's captaincy on top of that, that's 64.
Yeah.
So is it any wonder that we kind of, you know, the good teams are in kind of the scores of 70 or so? Now, majority of people don't have, let's leave Salah out of this for the moment, all of that back four, but it's probably right now where everybody's thinking in their mind where they want to get to. Now, fortunately for me this week, the only player I own of that back four is Cancelo. So I really feel like I've got away with it, partly because of cover of a few players. Jota has not covered Trent, but got close to it. Rudiger has not covered Chilwell and James, but kind of matched James, if you will. Jose Sar's clean sheet, 8-pointer, was a bit unexpected. I don't feel like many people had goalkeeper clean sheet this weekend. I was one that did, and that's kind of what's kept me on a small green arrow this week. My only other returnee was Ivan Toney. We've had a Mbuemo and Toney goal disallowed for the second week in a row. I saw Adam Hopcroft had tweeted that would have been about 15 extra points without bonus for managers of both over the last 2 game weeks. Well, that would have been healthy because obviously with bonus it's probably more than 20 points actually difference. Son and Kane blanked. Matt Lowton, Livramento blanks. But I'll take that, 72. Small green up to around about 330k. You, sir, where were you 3 game weeks ago?
900k? Or even, well, I know 2 game weeks ago was 900k. 3 game weeks ago was 1.2 million. I only looked at my recovery from 950k. I'm not sure why, but that's actually, fair shout. 1.24 million. I'm now, first time this season, my rank starts with a 3.
Yay.
396k. But yeah, it was a stormer this week. And the happiest points that I got all week was Ben Foster's assist. 3 points. I don't care that Tony, Gallagher, Jota, Salah, all the defensive guys don't care. Ben Foster's assist for 3 points was a perler. And obviously, when I watched it for the first time, it wasn't clear that it was Ben Foster's assist because I didn't know if the other Watford player had touched the ball before Dennis had taken it. It was like a bit of a from the angle. I was like, what happened? But then it was like, was that Foster's assist? Yes, it was. Ben Foster coming in with a 5-pointer when he was literally, do I want to sell Sanchez? No, fuck it, I'll play Foster against Man United, and didn't keep a clean sheet was very kind. Trent, Rudiger, Cancelo, I mean, that's perfect. All I need to do is add Reece James to that back 3 and they can tick on for the rest of the season. I spent Saturday evening thinking like Trent's right foot is such a thing of beauty, but to be fair, Cancelo's outside of the boot ball put Trent's right foot to shame a little bit as well, didn't it? So that was pretty good. Ben Johnson came off the bench for me for Rafinha. So a 2-pointer there. Gallagher, Jota, Salah captain, all returned. Ivan Toney returned. Ended up being your club and my club that let me down. 2 West Ham players and a Spurs player. Toilet, Kane, Antonio and Ben Johnson were the ones that didn't return. So 87 points in total, which takes me up into 400k.
Game week rank?
154.
Nice.
It's not 154k, I should add.
Yeah.
154.
We got
not
that.
bad at all. To be honest, well set up as well moving forward. I just need to get clarification on the injuries because Jota and Rafinha are both flagged.
We're in the same position.
And so I just need clarity on it. I had a transfer already in my mind on Saturday, like pre-booked, looking at the fixtures, looking at the game week 16 wildcard strategy. So I'm really only looking at 3 weeks.
Are we doing this together now?
What, game week 16? Yeah. I'm pretty much set for because that's when there is fixture swings, and I don't need necessarily to make many more transfers before then because most of my team have very good fixtures. The only thing is you're tripled up on Spurs and I'm not. So obviously your fixtures change then. So
Ben Davis, for those who only listen to the Monday pod, he's been added.
Yeah, so I suppose I don't have the same need to come away from in game week 16 that you do. Like with triple Spurs, you want to come off them and go to United. But so because I've only got Kane, but I might add one other, we'll have to see. And I don't know if the whole going towards Manchester United in game week 16 is still as appealing. We don't even know who's going to be in charge. So, game week 16 is still when I'm going to be looking at wildcarding.
I thought you'd applied for the job.
I've not sent my CV and covering letter yet.
Dwight York?
Dwight York is applying, is he?
Oh, did they apply for the Villa job?
Did he?
Apparently Steve Bruce said he'll do it interim. No jokes.
Do you...
Don't rule it out.
Can you guess, James, my premeditated, my kind of off the back of the weekend, this is my direction of travel, fine, this is the player I want to get, transfer.
From the weekend?
Well, it was...
what have you got in the bank, mate?
0.7 million. No, sorry, I don't have 0.7 million. I have... I do have 0.7 million. But either way, it's a financial downgrade. It's maybe not on the pitch.
The direction of who you want to buy?
Yeah, who have I decided to buy and who have I decided to sell?
Pierre-Emile Højbjerg.
No, your wife hasn't been in my DMs, trust me.
Good morning, wifey. I love her. Those on Twitter might have seen she's digging me out because she wanted a... this is more of a patron kind of in-joke. She's got a bit of a loving for James McArthur, who's been doing well for her. Obviously, I said, look, you got to bin him. He's got a hamstring injury. What about Højbjerg? So obviously, Højbjerg scored yesterday, and she's straight on it. Yeah, but he'd have been fucking third on her bench anyway, right? It wouldn't have made no difference. I haven't got a clue, Suj. Go on.
Antonio out.
Callum Wilson.
No.
Go on.
Raul Jimenez coming in.
So short term, 2 games.
2 games. Well, and the third game is Manchester United, isn't it?
Liverpool.
Liverpool, sorry, yeah. So by then I'll have another transfer that I can move him on to whoever I want for one game week. But looking at the next 2 fixtures, I think Raul Jimenez, and for the next 2 fixtures, say for example Jota was out or Rafinha was out and they said for a few weeks and I needed to get someone in, I'd buy Podence as the second. I'd actually double up on Wolves. Short term, very sharp. And it seems so reactionary because they'd just beaten us. But did you see the highlights? I watched the game. Trust me, for the next 2, if Wolves play like they did against us in the next 2, I want 2 Wolves attackers.
No, you don't.
Podence and...
no, you don't.
Why?
You can have Jimenez. Don't bother with the others, Suj.
I get it. It's only if Jota or Rafinha was long-term out and I needed a short-term
Rafinha's not going to be long-term because it's ill. Although at our stage, and this is worth remembering for all the listeners, me and Suj are now in such short-term vision. All right, so we're looking to wildcard in game week 16. So we are literally looking so short-term with our choices here. So I get it. You're looking over the next 2 fixtures, for example. Yeah, Wolves come out best, I would say. Do you want to waste at this stage your transfers on someone like Wang?
No,
or
I really don't
Podence,
Wang
who's come back in the team?
Because of a striker slot, right? I would want a midfielder. Podence was okay,
Yeah, and it might be Trincao next week. It might be Adama Traore. I wouldn't go near them guys, mate.
It's a punt, isn't it? Short-term punt.
Well, you can play it, mate. I wouldn't be convinced that...
yeah, I'm also not convinced that Jota or Rafinha will be missing next week.
Bradley calls it Poppadom Podence, doesn't he? Because he's made of Poppadoms. He's always falling apart with injuries and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I wouldn't go there. Well, I can see the thinking Jimenez. Yeah, I get that.
Definitely Jimenez.
I'm not sure I'd want the last week before my wild card Jimenez against Liverpool.
No, but I can move him on, right? We still have transfers.
There are two obvious players you and I don't have at the moment. Neither of us, Chilwell and James.
Yes.
So what's the thinking here? It never feels luxurious enough just to move Rudiger to one of the two, I don't think. And in my case, I'm not sure what price is Reece James now.
6.1 now.
Wow, is he really? And Ben Chilwell
6.
So I mean, I bought Rudiger at 5.5. I mean, that's not bad. I've got 0.1 in the bank, so I can't even do it sideways. I, like you, have got Jota and Rafinha, so I was looking, right, if Jota's out, we'll go Jota down to Brownhill, Basuma, whatever. We'll get Lowton up to Trent. Can't do it. Short. I could do it up to James or Chilwell. But then, again, looking so short term, with Chelsea playing United at home, yes, I know. Watford on the Wednesday in between could be rotation game. Then they go to your place. I'm thinking, same thing. Is that where I want to be wasting my transfer at the moment? Would I rather? And to relate back to what you're saying about the Wolves players, I get it because I'm thinking, someone like Maxwell Cornet, I keep banging on about, even though he's playing Tottenham this weekend. I think, yeah, that could be interesting maybe. So I think I'm going about these defensive guys. But when a wild card in 16, I cannot see me not going with all four of them guys. I just cannot see it.
Yeah, I'm going to be adding Reece James.
Trent and Cancelo being the other two, obviously.
My backline will be Cancelo, Trent, Rudiger, James. And I can't see it changing. Just play it.
So you still stay Rudiger rather than Chilwell?
Yes. Yeah, money. If money's no option, actually, I'll go Chilwell. But the thing is, I think it's a case of hedging my Chelsea bets here with the downside of... the lack of attacking returns for Chilwell, but the upside of consistency with Rudiger. I feel like Chilwell is more of a rotation risk than Rudiger. Would you not agree? I feel like having one of the centre-backs and the fullback...
Chilwell's more of a risk than Rudiger. Between Chilwell and James, I'm not sure.
So Chilwell and Rudiger... So I'm hedging my bets with Rudiger, where I've got one safe and steady centre back.
Rudiger will play 9 out of 10 games.
Yeah, and one attacking fullback. That's why I'm going to stick with Rudiger and James, not Chilwell and James. And I'm sacrificing a little bit of the upside, but that's fine. Also, 0.3, 0.4 budget might be tight. The reason I won't move from Ben White to Reece James before the wild card, and I'm more than happy to lose a couple of points on it, is basically because I need to find money. And to find money, I need to downgrade somewhere. And the only place that I've got that I can downgrade enough to get me the money would be Jota to Cornet. I don't want to make that move right now. Not pre-wild card.
Come down a bit more to... I mean, you've already got Gallagher, have you?
Yeah. Rafinha to Cornet doesn't give me enough money. So it's got to be Jota to Cornet. So I just don't see... I mean, Liverpool... 1-4-0. Jota had a few other chances as well. Ramsdale was in decent form yesterday. Could have hauled even bigger, to be honest with you. I don't see why I'd go Jota over Cornet.
My intention this week, by the way, if Jota and Rafinha are fit, my intention is to roll. My strategy has been to downgrade Mbuemo in 14 down to Basuma, Brownhill, cheapest mid, whatever. And then move Tony to Wilson for Wilson's games against Norwich and Burnley at home, 14-15. Then I'm wildcarding off of that. That's where I'm at. But Rafinha / Jota obviously might force a little bit of a rethink. So I've always kind of said this week, I've been looking at for weeks, has been quite a difficult week for budget defenders, I think, with the fixtures coming up. So like Livramento's away to Liverpool, for example. But actually, in the case of Liverpool, City, Chelsea, unless they're playing each other, the fixture doesn't even look like it particularly matters at the moment. I mean, even more so for the Chelsea players. Just give you some numbers per start, Suj, on James Chilwell. Ben Chilwell per start this season, 9 points. Reece James, 10.4. It's the same as Salah.
Yeah. Incredible.
It's difficult to argue and look beyond these players, right? I mean, this kind of points per game, or per start, shall we say, number that we're looking at here. I mean, this is the sort of shit you expect from players who play one game a season. You know, the dodgy goalkeeper plays one game a season, saves a penalty, and he's highest points per game all season kind of job.
Yeah.
Because the other players in and around those kind of numbers are not playing regularly. Interestingly, Trent, 7.9 points per start. Cancelo, 6.6. And this is part why you look at that foursome and go, oh my God, it's so much better value than the most of others, because all the other names in and around those numbers, I mean, Maxwell Cornet, 6.5 points per game actually, per start so far, are players who don't play regularly at the moment. Broha, Sarr, Pulisic, Nathaniel Chalobah, Calvert-Lewin's been injured, Zach Steffen of Man City, Shimikas.
I think with Chalobah,
Tom Davis at Everton, 7 points for one start.
Chalobah's only started half the games for Chelsea. He's the 7th highest scoring defender in the game.
That's unbelievable.
Every game he started has been a clean sheet and or a return. Unbelievable.
This kind of sums it up. And just really good, by the way, 6.1 points per start. That is a drop off from James and Chilwell to him. So I still think for me, Suj, that if it's affordable and it doesn't mean cutting something else off, actually I can get stuck in my mind sometimes with my thought process. My thought process for the majority of this season is I don't want to gamble with these Chelsea wing backs. I'm looking at Trent plays 9 out of 10. Cancelo at the moment is playing 9 out of 10. And actually, if you look historically, even into last season's league data, ignoring the fact they won the title with kind of April period, Cancelo starts the majority of games for Manchester City as well, because as proven by that unbelievable assist yesterday, he's so bloody good, right? Chilwell and James, I need to kind of get out the idea of thinking this is a problem and just accept that actually, I mean, even if they played 1 in 2, if Reece James keeps returning that number, 10.4 points per start, he can start every other game and he's still worth buying.
Yeah. Unfortunately, good news for me, although it would be unfortunate news for Diogo Jota, would be knowing that he was out. Because if he was out, then Jota to Cornet and Ben White to Reece James becomes straightforward. 2 free transfers. Thank you very much.
So I think for me, looking at the numbers, and
Jimenez would wait in that instance.
It's probably a case for me that I'd be taking a -4 if a Jota's out, binning it down a little bit in value, and I'm probably going on that day. I'm probably going to buy Reece James, I think.
Mm-hmm. Should we talk about some of these games from the weekend?
Or Ben Chilwell.
Wrap them up.
Depending on how fruity I feel.
We'll talk about some of these games because I think we were poor to pathetic on our predictions and didn't really realise what a goal fest it was going to be.
Hold up, we got the correct score double on Super Sunday, mate.
Yeah, we didn't put any money on it, so it doesn't help. The rest of the predictions were bonkers, but if I'd told you at the start of the weekend that Burnley, Palace, Newcastle and Brentford will share 12 goals between them, you'd have thought I was smoking the spice, mate. So.
You know where I was on Saturday, didn't you?
You went to the cinema, I saw.
Yeah.
What did you see? Anything good?
I went to see Bond.
Oh, nice.
Which I'm feeling really bad about that intro for the Patreon pod we did last week. We'll talk about it because you said you need to speak to someone.
I wasn't overly happy with the
spoilers.
ending.
Like if you ain't seen it, like that's why we're not talking about it. We can't talk about what happens.
So good film though.
Suj is upset. I'm pissed off.
So you didn't see any of the 3 o'clocks. I was sitting at home on my sofa watching Wolves v West Ham whilst you were in the cinema.
Well, Suj is literally looking at the graphic that you get on FPL that shows you the scores at the bottom before you click into your point scorers and stuff like that. So that's exactly what I did. I came out the cinema, I looked, and all I could see immediately was I'd obviously known Chelsea had won earlier in the day, but didn't know anything that was going on with the 3 o'clocks. From 3, and then obviously I saw the Man United score and went, whoa, someone's getting sacked.
Somebody gotta get a hurt real bad.
Jesus. Yes. I was like, wow. And I was looking through my messages and then you'd message me and they missed the penalty as well. I was like, what's going on here? Oh my God. And then scrolled down and saw that West Ham had lost and I thought, yeah, this has been a good weekend. I'm gonna go to the cinema every time Tottenham aren't playing because I walked out and was like, yeah, that's a touch. That'll do.
Let's whiz through these. I do think I suppose perhaps it's our narrow-minded us because we're thinking with the game week 16 wildcard that I didn't come away from the matches at the weekend with too many changes in my FPL thoughts. Like Watford winning didn't suddenly want to make me get a Watford player. And so, yeah, I didn't have too many changes off the back of the results in my FPL thinking, but it was an interesting set of results to talk about nonetheless. Leicester 0, Chelsea 3, with obviously Brendan Rodgers being so heavily touted as potential Manchester United manager, although they don't want someone till the summer, and then getting this slap. Aaron Lager, our Leicester correspondent, talked about the inevitability of this. It just felt like it was on the cards that they were going to get this slap. And all of the pundits and commentators and stuff, I think, are to an extent quite right. Chelsea are, the word that gets used is just a machine, just a well-oiled machine. Not sexy, nothing spectacular, doing their business week in, week out. 4 points clear at the top, not conceding goals. It's a championship winning team, this Chelsea team.
Yes, and look, they deserve big credit because they've obviously gone through this period of good fixtures, and I guess this Leicester game, they obviously slipped up against Burnley, and you think, could it be? But reality is, 13 points from the 5 easy fixtures they have. Look, you can have one day with it. They should have beat Burnley. Bottom line, right? You look at this one paper, and you know it's a banana skin Leicester away. But they went there and did their business. Leicester never really had a kick in the game. They went there, did their business. I mean, the positioning we've spoken about them enough, and we might do the kind of more of a podcast on them tomorrow via the People's Poll vote. I mean, the positioning of the wing backs and the areas they're getting into is so frightening and kind of impacts the way Chelsea are playing, and then how Kante plays off of that, and Jorginho. So many knockoffs. They are completely, what you said, well-oiled. They're coached properly. They know their roles within the team. They look completely dominant. They look like they can take on anybody at the moment. They're top of the league. They're obviously well within the race. I think they've coped without this period of Lukaku really well. I mean, majority of goals has been scored by their defenders.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You don't even need their attackers.
Well, my judgment on them has always kind of been that actually, without Lukaku, I think they'll struggle to win the league, because I think there will be the odd games like Burnley 2 weeks ago where, for whatever reason, the ball doesn't go in the net as much as it should, and he'll be the difference maker in a game like that. And I still believe that might be what would cost them, but we think Lukaku may even be back this week, which, importantly, we haven't spoken about him yet. If you are still there, Kai Havertz's time is up, I think.
Yeah.
Even though it's United this week and that fixture shouldn't hold any particular fears for you, I think, yes, Kai Havertz's time is up. I think, watch the news over the next couple of days, but I think Chelsea's intention is for Lukaku to be on the bench against Juventus and then probably start against Manchester United on Sunday. Either way, he's probably frustrated the life out of you too much. He's the sort of one, Havertz, I feel like he's going to stick in people's minds as like, nah, do you know what? He could have 2 braces in a row, look unbelievable, be playing up front again, and no, I'm not going there again. Sod it. He's the sort of people I feel like scars you because he has that kind of languid. Lazy is a bad word, but that's how it comes off. Like he's languid in his manner and his movement. He's just quite off-putting. We know there's a brilliant technical player in there, I think, and I still think there's every chance that he may well be part of Chelsea's best 11, but not as a 9. And I think going forward, once Lukaku comes back in, you think Mason Mount is first choice for one of the 2 positions. You got Ziyech fit now, Pulisic back fit. They combine for the 3rd goal. You got Havertz, Bartley, Loftus-Cheek. There's so much competition in there. I think Kai Havertz is quite an easy sell now, if you'd have held this far. On Leicester, not good place. I think a deal is in place for Brendan Rodgers to become Manchester United manager at the end of the season. That doesn't mean that he will become that manager, because I think United have probably got that in place but want to sound out other people. If Pochettino becomes available and stuff, I can definitely see that happening and United going down that route.
I mean, rumours are worth the toilet paper that they're in on the moment, but you get stuff like Wayne Rooney getting asked in a post-match press conference and stuff like that. Everybody and their dog, including me, because I am sending them my CV. I don't have a CV, let's be honest.
We do want to see this letter.
Oh, I'm going to write it. Email it. Just for the listeners. Getting linked with it. But yeah, I have no interest in any Leicester players, and they're just coasting along to nothingness at the moment.
I agree with you. However, there's something quite interesting. So I went back and looked at my FDR this morning, as in my fixture ticker for upcoming fixtures. And I've got Leicester best for next 4 and next 5.
Watford, Southampton, Villa, Newcastle. It's a reasonable run for them. But where do you go?
Well, defensively is not worth bothering at the moment. There's nothing cheap enough to kind of enable, and you're not going to go and buy like Pereira. Pereira's a miss for them at the weekend, but you're not going to buy Castagna. Right? Of the difference with like Chilwell, James, and stuff at the moment, you're not going there. Midfield wise, there's nothing. This is basically a Jamie Vardy conversation. So Jamie Vardy owners surely hold this week. So a lot of the questions I was getting on my stream last week was, is it worth the -4 Vardy to Kane? So, okay, how do you want to judge this? You probably want the immediate return. Now, if Kane had obviously scored yesterday, okay, bang, paid back your money instantly, because Vardy bowled one header, didn't particularly look like scoring against Chelsea at the weekend. But now, that next set of fixtures, Watford at home, Southampton away, Villa away, Newcastle at home, Tottenham at home. I don't know. Kane's better. I mean, this week you don't
this week.
You don't go Vardy to Kane this week, do you?
No. Do you go Kane to Vardy?
No, I wouldn't change that. But that's not something I would consider doing personally.
No. The only reason I ask is there's a 1.5 million between them, which is a lot of money. So that Kane to Vardy, if that gave you James or Chilwell.
But I think if you've gone Harry, Burnley away this week. Let's be honest, Burnley just conceded 3 at home.
They did.
They're a bit more open than what they have been in the past. So you don't fear Harry Kane playing Burnley. The 2 afterwards look extraordinarily good. So I think if you're a Vardy owner and you're thinking Kane, you're in real short-term thinking at the moment. You could make a serious case, I think, of holding Vardy this week, going Kane for 2, going back to Vardy even. And then you get all the home games of it. So that run then gives you Watford at home, Brentford at home, Norwich at home, Newcastle at home over the next 4. So if you want to flip-flop that, depends on the makeup of the rest of your squad. I can certainly understand that. I think Vardy you hold this week, Watford at home.
Yeah.
But captaincy is, no, don't be clever about it. They're not playing well enough. And actually, we've spoken jokes about Rodgers to United quite a lot. If they do badly over these 3-4 games, they might change themselves.
Yeah, you never know.
Because them fixtures they should be doing well at. They're in the bottom half at the moment. I know they've had injury issues. They also had a lot of injury issues last year. That team should not be in the bottom half for the league.
Mm-hmm. Let's ask a similar question around Vardy to Lukaku. What would Lukaku need to do for you to consider him? Because let's be honest, we've got this Gameweek 16 fixture swing looming. Ronaldo's clearly not in form either. I say either, adding Kane into the mix because, again, he had a blank. Would Lukaku put his hand up as a better option as a premium striker than Ronaldo in Game Week 16? Are you going to stick with a plan and stick with Ronaldo?
No, I mean, look, Chelsea got Leeds at home, Everton at home. There's some good little fixtures there, but no, I would have to see something from Lukaku in the next few weeks to change my course on that. So no, my intention when a wild card would still be to go Ronaldo. They might have an upturn by then. It doesn't look great at the moment, admittedly. Mind you, I might be going like 5-4-1 by the time it comes around. Gelhardt and Palmer as 2 4.5 million forwards.
Is Cole Palmer a forward in this, is he?
I think he is, yeah.
Okay.
Do us a favour, check that out for us.
I will. You can always get Liam Delap in case, otherwise...
No, we're not getting Liam Delap. Is Cole Palmer a forward?
No.
He's for a midfielder.
Manchester City only have one listed forward in the game.
Oh, it's Jesus, isn't it?
Yes. Palmer is a midfielder at 4.5 million.
Oh, that's a boo-hoo.
Yeah.
There's a 4.5 million forward up here all over that. I'm sure the guys in the stadium yesterday told me it was a forward. Anyway, I do podcasts on this shit. I should know, shouldn't I? Next game. Aston
Villa 2.
Oh, they wish.
Alphabetical. Aston Villa 2, Brighton 0. Late comeback. I mean, not really because they weren't losing, but a late rally, let's say, from Villa. 2 goals towards the end. Did have an eye on Ollie Watkins, which is why I kind of went for him in the -56. Clean sheet. Brighton lost. I don't know. I only caught highlights and goals on this. Didn't really pay
Interestingly,
much attention. This is the one I predicted for a Desmond. So when goals were flying in all the other games, and this was sitting there at 0-0, I felt like a right lemon.
what did I predict for this? Do you remember?
2-1.
Nah, I went Villa clean sheet. I went 1-0 Villa.
1-0.
Which, until Tyrone Mings scored, another player, I apparently forced my wife to sell on wildcard. I'm such a bad husband. Scored late on, I'd have been on for that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Suj, but Brighton haven't won since game week 4.
Is that right?
That just sounds like a really surprising statistic, doesn't it? Your voice just broke, I think, mate.
Is that right? So game week 4, they beat Brentford 1-0.
Yeah.
Lost to Leicester. No, Leicester.
Oh, no, they
2-1.
beat Leicester. Sorry,
Leicester
since
in
game week 5. Apologies.
Then drew with Palace, drew with Arsenal, drew with Norwich, doing what Brighton do, draw. Lost to City, drew with Liverpool, so that's not a bad result.
Oh, they played really well.
And drew with Newcastle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 draws in
since
6.
game week 5.
Yeah.
Now, it's worth saying they won 4 of their first 5, right? It's possibly part why the league position is so good at the moment. They've obviously gone with this system recently, which has been dropping Neil Maupay. Like, Maupay hasn't started for a few weeks. I think they probably want to. Well, I've had this YouTuber and I keep been in my face.
Yeah.
He's gone silent. I think he's disappeared to Andy Let's Talk FPL streams. He don't listen to me no more. I was banging on about buying Maupay every week. He's not in my streams anymore. But I think they should get Maupay back in the team.
Yeah.
I think Trossard false 9 experiment, great for Liverpool, Man City fiction and stuff like that. Villa away, get a centre forward on the pitch. The game disappeared very interestingly for Brighton a little bit because it was a very even game when Lamptey went off.
Yeah.
And he's a player we obviously want to keep an eye on. Problem with someone like Tariq Lamptey, you never want to leave him out. He's such a flyer. You enjoy watching him. To change to a back 3, this meant Duffy stayed in the team, which a lot of people will still be on Duffy. I was thinking about this afterwards because I'd said to you that I thought it'd go back to a back 3, but I thought Duffy would probably come out. Now, in this particular fixture, Duffy played again as the central of the back 3, which is bad for Lewis Dunk. I'm kind of leaning into a bit more of a Sky Fantasy conversation here. Dunk at left-sided centre-back is nowhere near as good as central centre-back. By the way, Don Antonio, I do not mind if you want to go bidding for Lewis Dunk in January. Thank you, sir. But I thought about it afterwards. Villa, now it might change now they've got a new manager in, but in terms of prepping for the fixture, one of the things that Villa had obviously been doing a lot prior to obviously Dean Smith's dismissal was long throws. And I think that might be why Duffy stayed in the team. And I think it might change again now, ironically. And because Veltman's not the biggest, right, if he's going to go and be in part of a back 3. And I think he might have looked at it and gone, yeah, do you know what? They got some units there with like Mings, Konsa and stuff. Let's go with Duffy to shore that up in terms of dealing with the set piece. So I think he might yet come out of the team. Duffy, I guess most people have probably moved it off. But have we got any concerns about that Brighton form, Suj? I mean, there's been some tough fixtures in there, it's worth saying.
Have we got any concerns? It's interesting. I don't want to turn this into a West Ham lens, but I was going to put it out there that it's not inconceivable after the defeat at Wolves that we lose all 3 of our next league games. City,
Fingers crossed.
City, Brighton, Chelsea. And Brighton's a midweek game next week under the lights. And Brighton fall into that same bracket
that Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, City, Brighton, Chelsea is so brutal because of the way Brighton play as well. Of course. You'd be chasing the ball.
Brighton fall into this category with Wolves, with Leeds, that I don't think there's any shame in losing to these teams because on their day they can be so good. Like even Wolves we lost to, there's no shame in it because even though we're above them and on paper we're a better team, because they're so good.
They're second since game week 3.
Exactly. So Brighton, no, I guess not. I think they still have their philosophy and their way of playing, but 5 draws in 6 shows that they're back to their 2019-2020 issue of turning draws into wins. So that Brighton game for West Ham, for example, carries so much more importance because it's either side of City and Chelsea that are expected defeats. So West Ham now see that as we need to get 3 points because otherwise we're going to be on a 4-game losing run. So it's a bit of a concern, but I wasn't buying any Brighton FPL assets anyway, apart from Sanchez.
No, but there'll be plenty out there, like with Duffy and stuff. I just think it's something to keep an eye on. I've got no concerns, Brighton. Listen, we're not saying, oh my God, 6 winless games is going to become 16 and they're going to be back in a relegation fight. I'm just saying there might be something to keep an eye on here. That's a little dip in form. But, I mean, the Liverpool game's 3 game weeks ago? And they easily could have won at Anfield, right? So there's no major concerns. It's just, I think to highlight, you were surprised when I said that. Oh, they haven't won since game week 5. A shock.
Yeah. They also haven't lost. They've only lost a couple of times.
Villa, just briefly, because of the fixtures, I don't think you're kind of looking to go in on their assets. Good start for Steven Gerrard, obviously. System 4-3-3, which everybody who's kind of watched Rangers was saying to me that's the likely way to go. So a deeper role for Emi Buendia. Watkins starting in a wider position, but then obviously went more central after Danny Ings went off. I think we'll probably see more of that of Ollie Watkins as a wide player. But I think Gerrard's quite intent on keeping Watkins and Ings quite close together. So don't expect too much of kind of Ollie Watkins back in left-back positions and stuff. I still think he could be a viable asset, but they have got some tough fixtures still to come over the next few.
Let's talk about Burnley 3, Palace 3. I mean, the goal alerts on this in the first half popping off was just like, what's happened here? And Conor Gallagher only got me the 1 assist, but Joachim Andersen, I don't think is going to be turning into prime Trent assist machine, even though he got 2. My biggest takeaway was that Cornet scored again. Like from an FPL point of view, I've got my Palace coverage in Gallagher, and Cornet's the one I wanted to add, and he scored again. He's had a price rise up to 6.1.
I was so pleased that Cornet scored.
But he still has value at 6.1. Like he could be 6.5, and I'd still be interested in Maxwell Cornet. So all good. Benteke, is he due a contract?
I mentioned him a few weeks ago, didn't I? I'm not overly surprised because I just think, and a chat out to one of our patrons, Darren and Auto Recluse, was having a major selection headache at the weekend. I said, do yourself a favour, mate. Just sell Edouard. This is going to make your decision making a lot better because I think there's probably something in this in terms of certain games that Jordan Ayew plays at the moment. Like he played at City, he's played at Burnley, where they need to be a little bit more workmanlike. It seems like he's playing some of the fixtures. You got Zaha, you got Elise, you got Eze's back in the squad now as well, which is a huge plus for them. And I feel like the way that they're playing so much better football, but Benteke still gives them the out ball, right? So if there's problem, okay, we can play a diagonal win to him. Okay, when we get it high and into wide areas, I feel like I've watched Benteke for years and people not use him properly because he's a fucking giant in the air, right? If he gets a run on you, like you're not stopping him. It's kind of like Andy Carroll stuff, right? You're not stopping him in the air if he gets a run on you. And I feel like Palace are using him properly. They have a good run of fixtures. Forwards are not doing brilliantly well in FPL at the moment. Benteke's got Villa this week, so Ming, it's the sort of one I can see Mings wanting to have a fight with Benteke and to be honest with you, Benteke winning that fight.
Yeah.
So I don't think Benteke should be off table if people are looking for just forget about it for a while. Do you know what? You're showing a bit of consistency. How many goals has he got now, Suj Benteke?
It's 4, I think, for the season.
It's all right. It's value.
1 assist. Yeah, 4. 4 in the last 5. Obviously, he had a period where he wasn't getting minutes for a little while.
But it's consistent now, isn't it, for him?
Yeah, 4 in the last
5. In terms of starting. Okay. No, I mean, minutes starts as well.
Yeah, there has been for the last 6-7 weeks for Benteke.
Gallagher's still a good get, and ironically, he may even look a little bit better now due to MacArthur's injury. Not that it was kind of a MacArthur or Gallagher either or, and this may be a little bit with dealing with second balls because of Burnley, but obviously Kiarte played and him and Milivojevic played as more of a pivot, where actually MacArthur's been playing left of midfield 3, Gallagher to the right, and obviously Gallagher has complete licence to go. His starting position may be even higher in the next few weeks. I think we could see that off of his assist for the Benteke goal at the weekend. Disappointed with the goals they conceded though. And I'm sure there's a few gone Gator recently already going, this is why I never wanted this guy in goal. Alex McCarthy owners are probably thinking exactly the same at the moment as well. I'd be concerned about the goals they conceded weren't great, but Burnley set pieces, you know what's coming. You either deal with it or you don't. And there's a couple of instances at the weekend that Palace definitely didn't. We've got good fixtures. So did Burnley. I feel like all the content we did last week, there was none where I didn't speak about Maxwell Cornet at some part. And for a few people, like everybody on our Slack patron, like Bradley Park was like, do you think he'll play after doing that? I was like, don't worry. Honestly, he's too good.
Yeah.
He is, and I summed it up in the Talking Tactics video I did for the patrons by saying, he's not a Burnley player. Get out of your mind of, he's a Burnley attacker. Look at the goals that he's scoring.
Yeah, they're class.
It's a little highlight reel of beauty.
It is a little bit like, I feel so harsh on Burnley. How did they get him? Like, how is someone else, a bigger, better club, not picked up Max?
Well, I'll tell you how they got him. Is basically, you might remember going back to the summer, we spoke a lot about, is he a left back and stuff. I could only remember one game where I'd seen him. It was the Champions League game that Lyon beat Man City in Lisbon. He played as left wing back. Basically, for the last 2 years for Lyon, he's played left wing back or left back, mate. Now, prior to that, he'd played a lot of wide forward positions, very occasionally centre forward. He actually scored twice against Manchester City in a game that he played centre forward for them in the Champions League, I think in the 18-19 season. He's barely played centre forward since then, till now. So I think they've probably got him on board and said, do you know what, mate? We're going to bring you in. You ain't going to be a left back here, mate. We're going to play you as a forward. And he's gone, well, I like the sound of that, because everyone else probably scouting him is a little bit like I'd thought in the summer and went, well, I think this is a left back. Calm down, everyone. His finishing for his goals is great. Even first thing I'd say to people is, what foot is he, left or right?
Yeah.
He's left. But he can finish with his right as well. Yeah. Good player. Good foil for Wood. It gives Burnley something very different, because one of the things you want to do tactically against Burnley is stay high, right? The higher you stay against them, if Wood flicks it on, okay, right, there's nothing in behind. Yeah. Because they don't have the pace.
Runners.
Right?
They just don't have them.
So quite often what a lot of you do, Wood backs into you and you may win the first header, but because he's a nuisance, you don't get height and distance on it. So you have to deal with the second balls. Hence, I can't say to you that Chiarte and Milivojevic will stay as a partnership, because that's a lot of the game against Burnley. You have to win the second balls. Otherwise, they come, because that midfield four like to press. We've spoken about problems between their midfield defence lines. The midfield four go and press, so they win a lot of the second balls, so you have to deal with it. The problem now is, though, with Cornet, he wants to go off. So now Burnley have got something going in behind. So everybody who wants to go and play high against them, it becomes a little bit more difficult because of Cornet. So you sit deeper, but then the problem is the deeper you get, the higher up the pitch they get, the more they can actually get crosses into the penalty area. I think Burnley will do very well over the next month or so, while people try and readjust and learn how to deal with this. I think Chris Wood is decent get as well. Yeah. Actually, he's just another one at kind of Benteke level. I think I'd probably buy Wood over Benteke at the moment. Just.
Newcastle Brentford 3-3. I mean, you probably get Callum Wilson over either of those two, and there are other options. But even Ivan Toney returned with a goal. He's not been great.
Depends what you want, because I think Wilson still is short term. Yeah. Wood and Benteke look like longer holds at the moment. Yeah.
Again, Rico Henry on the score sheet, tipped him a couple of weeks ago. I did think he was playing quite high when he played against West Ham.
He wasn't the one that I bought, no, was he?
Of course not. Newcastle 3, Brentford 3. What are we taking away from this? Another car crash, rock and roll football. Eddie Howe obviously clearly wasn't there because of his COVID issues.
Well, the first takeaway from the game is we thought when we saw the team that it was a change of system potentially for Brentford. Now, largely there wasn't. The only difference being a little bit with Godos playing in midfield, he gets a lot closer to the front too. But I think a number of us saw the team and thought, they've gone back to a back four here. With Roslav, I think played, I don't know how to pronounce his name, the player who played right-sided centre-back. Because basically he's a full-back or a wing-back. So we thought when we saw the team, okay, it's back four, they've changed. Plus Godos can play in a front three. But it didn't largely change. Tony and Mbuemo, mass unlucky again as per usual. That said, Koldalo should save Tony's shot. I mean, every week I do the team news stream for the patrons to say Dubravka's back in goal this week. Dubravka's back in goal this week, and they're still not changing it. I'll ask FPL Fipplers on COTC this week. I'll ask him, does he want Dubravka back in goal? Because I think that's a short-term fix for them. So if you're thinking, Brentford have changed, no. They haven't. It's the same. They've still got some good fixtures. For me, Tony and Mbuemo, Everton at home this week against a now suspended Richarlison Everton.
Yeah.
How has he got 5 yellows when he's like missed a month of
Yeah,
football?
I don't get it as well. It's mad.
Angry man of Richarlison bird dancing forward. Brentford defensive players, we talked about. I mean, I wish that's what I had now with Calvert-Lewin presumably still. Yeah, because I spoke about the budget defensive. I'd fancy them this week against Everton. I mean, they're in a really bad place. So Tony and Buemo and stuff, that's a definite stay for me this week. Analyse afterwards. It's not, honestly, I know a lot of getting frustrated. This ain't the week. This isn't the week to come off them, I think.
You've held this far. Stick with it.
Now, Newcastle. I watched all of the first half of this game back on Saturday night, which was quite fun. And to be honest, my takeaway from it was that largely Brentford had kind of more constructive, decent plays in the game. Newcastle had a lot of efforts on goal. They were getting more people in the box. This shouldn't be surprising. My big takeaway from the game was that their starting positions were higher. What it means to me is, in a few games, they are going to get absolutely destroyed. I look at them going to Liverpool in a few weeks or so. That's definitely not a take on Salah on the armband stuff.
They'll play differently against Liverpool, though. Like
maybe.
You set yourselves up when you've got teams like this. You come against Liverpool, you're going to play very differently to Brentford.
But they don't have time to waste. Now, I think from just listening to player interviews like Jamal Lascelles after the game and stuff as well, they spoke the same. Like, a lot of the coaching's been about playing higher up the pitch. So that's not just a case of all just getting men in the box. It's as a team, like, we kind of start nearer the halfway line. Whereas for 3-4 years and possibly longer, it's been a lot of defend the penalty area. He wants to get them higher up the pitch, which should be good news for the likes of Wilson, Saint Maximin, possibly even the likes of Almiron and Ryan Fraser, possibly even a midfield runner like Joe Willock, that they can get returns and stuff. But I think defensively, you can have some pain. You say, okay, they'll change at Liverpool, but if he's trying to implement a philosophy, they might be better off looking and going, well, let's implement the philosophy. Go and be brave at Liverpool. There's nothing to lose. We'll go and play this way anyway. It might get destroyed.
That's true. It's true. Norwich 2, Southampton 1. I mean, a great start for Dean Smith. Back-to-back wins for Norwich with 2 different managers.
Newcastle just got survived the next month, by the way. Those 2 home games, Norwich and Burnley, it's got to be like at least 4 points. It's still winless.
The problem for them, if they are bottom going into the January transfer windows, who's going to want to go there permanently? I mean, they just have short-term
I
loans.
wonder what would attract people, he says, rubbing his 2 fingers and his thumb together.
Yeah, but there's certain like take for example
Jesse
players,
Lingard.
Yeah,
you're going to say, isn't it?
James Tarkowski is the one I was thinking about. For example, would you want to do a short-term deal to
Yeah,
Newcastle?
why not? If you're James Tarkowski, you sign a contract because he's out of contract at Burnley in the summer, right? You sign a contract there, probably double your wages. It's not that
play in the Championship.
It's not that far where you live. No, if Newcastle want him badly enough, you put something in the contract and you say, yeah, and if we get relegated, you can release me for the same amount of money you bought me.
I don't know if
they'll probably sign the deal at the moment, mate, because they're desperate.
It's going to be a funny January for Newcastle.
Whatever happens to Newcastle in the next 6-7 weeks, even if they kind of lose every game between now and then, you couldn't write them off because we don't know what's going to happen in January if they could put it. But they would have to put themselves in a position where they're providing kind of top 6, top 7 form to even give themselves a chance if they don't do well in the next couple. That'd be an interesting game at Arsenal at the weekend. Dean Smith, Norwich, loved his interview, the interview that he did on Match of the Day. He's been talking there like he'd been there years. We've been promoted twice. It was like he'd taken the credit. We've been promoted twice. Okay, we went down. But we've been promoted. And there's plenty to admire about the fact that he's already kind of collected the we.
Yeah,
but it came off as in my 2 promotions.
Yeah.
Good win for them.
But Southampton obviously clearly had a lot of chances.
Yeah,
a lot of chances.
Yeah, the victory a little bit fortuitous. I think at the end of the day, Norwich won the game because Alex McCarthy's had a nightmare on the winning goal. A draw probably would have been about right from what I've seen of the game, which isn't a lot, admittedly. Interesting to see the likes of Cantwell back in the team. Rashica, the one that's obviously been picked up, Billy Gilmore back in the team. And I think it was Shearer spoke on Mash of the Day, and I quite agreed with the idea, actually, that playing with a 3 in midfield is good for Gilmour, give him a little bit more protection, where he'd been at the start of the season and it was kind of more of a 2 in there, and he might have been struggling and getting overrun a little bit. Norwich should definitely be better off having Billy Gilmour in the middle of the pitch. Like, we rate him massively, don't we?
Of course, I mean, he's a talent.
So that will feel like a new signing for them. I think Cantwell, if they can get him up to speed quickly, will also kind of feel like a new part of the squad. They've got a couple more fixtures in Wolves at home, Newcastle away. This is the other problem for Newcastle. Everyone's looking at Newcastle and going, got to beat them as well. Where they'll fancy taking Wolves on at the weekend. It would be very typical Wolves, by the way. And I think the Wolves listeners will even agree to this. It would be very typical Wolves to go to Norwich and get beat.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think I'm just coming off the back of watching Wolves.
I don't think they will
playing very well.
But if I go to the cinema at the weekend, I'm not planning to. Ghostbusters maybe, and I come out and Norwich have beaten Wolves, I won't be surprised.
No, true.
I don't think wifey's up for Ghostbusters, to tell you the truth. I might go on my own,
Saints.
Oh, I can't. I'm going to Manchester. Oh yeah, meet up Manchester Saturday night if you want a beer. Remind me to talk about that. Saints.
They're 5-6 points clear of relegation, but then they've got some tough games: Liverpool, Leicester, Brighton, Arsenal coming up.
I don't think you put Leicester at kind of the difficulty rating at the moment. I know it is, but you wouldn't at the moment. Actually, they're just not playing well enough.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to snap out. I have faith in Leicester snapping out of it.
Do you think Southampton might be up for it after night? Oh no, they've played them since the last 9-0, haven't they? I mean, they drew them last year with 10 men for a long period, didn't they?
Difficult to see. I think Southampton just taking along. They'll win.
Are you going to play? You must always play Tino Livramento this weekend at Liverpool.
Don't own him.
Have you not got him?
Nah, I've known him all season.
Everyone's got him, haven't they? I generally would not start Livramento at Liverpool at the weekend.
Yeah.
They'll give Liverpool a game. I think other Southampton assets, if you're on the likes of Armstrong, I think kind of fixture-wise, Leicester at home, Brighton at home, Arsenal away after the Liverpool fixture. They've had a great run of fixtures. That's now over. I think you can now look at alternatives like some we've mentioned, Wood, Benteke, who you perhaps might not have been considering as kind of a sideways-ish move, which because of the fixture at Liverpool feels acceptable to then make that move. Broja's probably a hold because of his value. I think you have to consider the December fixtures in mind. And I think at the moment, in the majority of games, you're probably benching him and you're going to have to suffer the pain. And I think Emmanuel Dennis owners might be in a similar position at the moment. So I think you probably hold Broja. Obviously, you hold Tino Livramento if you've got... I don't think you play him in most scenarios this weekend. I mean, you must have two other really shit defenders if you want to play him away to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no interest in Saints assets at the moment. Consistency is still a problem for them. Lost at Norwich, drew at home to Burnley. With the good, there's always bits of
crap.
Yeah.
Watford 4, Manchester United 1 was the shock of the weekend. It's just, again, it was like, penalty missed, but then goal straight after, and then you're like, okay. And then another one. And in the end, obviously, with the Ben Foster assist and wrapping it up as 4-1, possibly even fair result.
I watched the whole game back on Saturday night.
You can't argue with the result, can you?
A few people said, I can't wait for James to get hold of this on Monday. I thought, the way people were talking about it, it's not a fluke result. They really have been destroyed. And I didn't know, when I watched the game back, I didn't know the order of the goals or anything. So it felt like a kind of half-ish pure watch for me. So when it's going into injury time-ish and it's still 2-1, I'm like, hang on, what's going on here? So look, there is that part to it. That they've scored, and I think we should talk about Watford first, actually, otherwise we might never get there. Two goals have come very late on. I'm going to guess you've got Emmanuel Dennis in front of you, Suj, have you?
I have got Dennis in front of me, actually, yes.
I just want you to read out from Gameweek 1 to now his returns each week.
12, 2-1-1, 6, 1-1-2, 12, 0-2, 14. 3 double-digit returns plus one other return. And in amongst that, 2s and 1s. But it's 1 in 3 he's returning.
But when he's returning, he's returning. He's really returning.
And
There's
remember,
3 big goals.
12 pointer against Everton came in 26 minutes at the end of the game as well.
9 attacking returns now for Emmanuel Dennis. That's amazing.
Still only 5.2 million.
And he's, well, I'm not saying that I'm wildcarding his 16 and Watford have got a fixture
No,
swing.
I was going to suggest, Watford for me now.
I'm
really
wildcarding his 16 and Watford have a fixture swing.
From Game Week 16, Brentford, Burnley, Palace, Wolves, West Ham. Definitely that Brentford, Burnley, Palace, Wolves. As an enabler, you'd take Dennis over Broca right now all day long.
For me, yes.
Yeah.
I think if you were on wildcard now, you punt this fella.
Yeah.
Not into your team. The next
Sarr is still too expensive at 6.
Now the next 3 are rough. Now you could make
But the good thing with the next 3 is it's a good chance to have a look at them and make sure you want Dennis for Game Week 16.
I don't think it's unthinkable, Suj, that I might have 2 Watford players
Who's
on
the
my
second?
wildcard. I wouldn't rule out Ismail Assar.
Yeah.
It's worth saying he picked up an injury at the weekend. It's a doubt, and it's a possible blow for them. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Josh King is another one that falls into kind of this value. I feel like Josh King's 5.9 or so at the moment. His number's slightly kind of obviously bumped up by the hat-trick at Everton. But then Dennis has got these odd kind of hauls that have kind of bumped up his returns at the moment. So ironically, and we had Stephen on COTC last week, 6th goal, and he wasn't confident going into the game. Admittedly, neither was Gary Robinson. That is my cap plan and Man United correspondent. I mean, Gary put it to the draw, right? And I had to leave the audio go for a second or two because I thought people need to kind of hear the moment where he's saying, I'm predicting us to draw away to Watford. So it's not come as a huge shot to him because it's so bad defensively. But Stephen has not had any confidence, particularly in what Watford have been doing either. Now, we got to look at it and go, since Ranieri's gone in there, they've scored 4 against United, they've scored 5 at Goodison Park. Something is there, offensively, in terms of what they've got up front. That front 3 of Dennis, King and Sarr is quite threatening. Now, for me, it's a no-go by area unless it's enabling you something. So if you are looking to get, I don't know, you're trying to find that money that moves you Rudiger to James and Adam Armstrong to Dennis is enabling you that, and you're happy to bench Dennis in the next few game weeks, although you'd make a strong case to play him at Leicester this weekend at the moment, then fine. Look at that. Game week 16, they go to Brentford. Then it's Burnley away in 17, Crystal Palace at home in 18. And it's interesting, when I ran through these fixtures with Stephen, and he was absolutely spot on to say, yeah, but actually, James, when you look at all of these fixtures individually, none of them look easy. The thing is, though, for budget players, as a collective, it's a good bunch of fixtures. They're not going to blank in all of these fixtures.
No.
Dennis, Sarr, King, I'll be coming back and having a good look at them again for game week 16. I think if Dennis enables, you can look now. Defensively, I still wouldn't go there. It's not with what they've got coming up, and I wouldn't intend to on game week 16 wildcard unless suddenly they've got someone who's like 4 or 4.1 who's playing every week, which I don't see that happening at the moment. Foster's obviously fine. They well deserved to win. I couldn't believe watching the game purely and then looking at the stats afterwards. I couldn't believe that Watford's XG was as low as it was, because I'm watching the game. I think their XG is going to be about 4 or 5 here. They had so many chances. 4-1 was a fair reflection of the game.
Yeah.
United. First thing, they're appealing Harry Maguire's red card to get it overturned. Not United, Chelsea. I mean, jokes aside, what they're picking defensively, is it Bailly and Lindelof play at Chelsea at the weekend?
You'd think
It's got to be, isn't it?
Who else is going to play back there? Drop Fred into centre half? No.
Did it go Shaw?
McTominay does it for Scotland. No.
Shaw as a centre back and Telles as a wing back. They could change that system
Either way,
again, couldn't they?
Trouble.
United would be better off, in my opinion, staying at back 4 and trying to kind of funnel into shape defensively and try and hurt Chelsea with the clear pace they've got on the counter-attack in the likes of Marcus Rashford, or if Jadon Sancho's going to play again. It's worth saying they all underwhelmed. I watched Jadon Sancho put in a great cross for what led to Donny van der Beek's goal. He was the only bright spark for United, was Van der Beek. He played well when he came on. It was good. Fernandes was poor. I mean, Fernandes, last 10 minutes, went and played at centre-back, mate.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
That's mad.
You're I know they're down to 10 men, but chasing the game. And I know probably part of him where Fernandes has got it in deep lying areas, great, fine. You want him, and I know he's gone on a long run of kind of blankings. You don't want Bruno Fernandes playing centre. He just become a car crash. It felt like something that happened on pitch that he went, I'm going to go and play centre-back at the end of the game. They're obviously in a bad place. I don't think... My instinct is that it looks like all the coaching staff as it stands is going to be the same going into the weekend, bar Solskjaer has gone. Therefore, I cannot see in the immediate what changes.
No, agree.
And therefore, it's not just Chelsea this week, but then Arsenal going to Old Trafford the week after are going to fancy it. Palace going to Old Trafford the week after will definitely fancy it if this is still the same. So we obviously need to keep an eye on the situation. Are they going to appoint someone? That seems to be the suggestion. Carrick's going to do a couple of games and then someone's going to come in. Is that a case of they don't want whoever they're getting in interim to get their pants pulled down immediately at Stamford Bridge at the weekend? It might be. Because you couldn't see anything but Chelsea winning that game at the moment.
Agreed.
Got way too much quality. Ronaldo owners. What do you do? Because I know there's definitely some who went and punted him for the weekend because of Watford and stuck the armband on him. If you did, actually, you were a little unlucky. He's got the assist and he had one effort which Foster got over the bar and Ronaldo basically kind of half slips when he goes to shoot. And if he scores that, there's every chance the game finishes 2-2 or so and he's looking at kind of 11, 12 pointer and you've won. So fine margins. Do you keep him? Or do you look at like Kane's fixtures or Vardy's fixtures in the next three and go, I'm going down and I'm going back? Because I think I'd be tempted to do that.
I would... It's difficult. The biggest challenge with Ronaldo is the price. It's so much money where dropping down to Vardy or Lukaku or even the cheaper guys at Watkins and Wilson allows you to get Chilwell and James and some of these other guys. Like I would rather drop, if I own Ronaldo, drop him down to a Vardy looking at the next three fixtures or Kane, but there's not as much of a price differential.
Then if you shove the money, you know you're going to... Remember, most of the listeners have used that wild card, right?
Correct.
So going back's not... It's easy for me and you to sit here and go, yeah, we'd go Vardy for free and then wild card Ronaldo back in. Unless I had a clear idea of what's happening with the manager. I'd want to understand what's happening with the formation and the manager. For me now, where if you'd spoken to me a week ago, ironically with a shit manager, Ronaldo was a shoo-in, and with no manager, he's not. But Gameweek 16 wildcard, Ronaldo is by no means a shoo-in. So I'd be happy to sacrifice him now, knowing that I might not want him back anyway. Norwich away, Brentford away, Brighton at home, and there's two more good fixtures after that, Newcastle away, Burnley at home. No matter what state they're in, I cannot see me wildcarding and not having Ronaldo from those five fixtures.
Yeah, I think they'll actually get a decent manager and sort themselves out, but let's see.
Brendan Rodgers?
Well, we never know. Wolves 1, West Ham 0. Highlights you saw, or you didn't watch much at all?
I've not seen a lot. I kind of know you watched the whole game, so I'll leave it mainly to you.
Well, it was a difficult watch because the first 16 to 18 minutes, West Ham were much the better side. We dominated possession, knocked it from side to side. Wolves kind of just sat in deep as they do, and when they did get the ball, Semedo and especially Ait-Nouri, he's not good. I know he picked up max bonus points, but generally... You're
going to upset Bradley, yeah?
I'm not bothered. I saw Bradley tweet that he thought a number of Wolves players did particularly well, and I agree with him on all of the accounts, except Ait-Nouri didn't start the game well, and long term he's not good. But then kind of the game changed where Wolves decided, right, okay, we're going to up our intensity here, because they really sat in passively in the first 18 minutes. And they just didn't let West Ham settle on the ball at all. Dawson had a shocker. Like, he looked very uncomfortable. He played right-sided and Zuma played left-sided at the start. So he just made a few mistakes. Dick got caught in possession, gave the ball away, and it felt like one mistake after another, and then he was in shaky ground anyway. So Dawson being shaky at the back didn't help. Souček hasn't played well pretty much all season. He's been a bit shaky in possession. We've seen that when he gave the ball away against Leeds. And Wolves kind of then got the game by the scruff of the neck and played with intensity, closed us down, got the ball. And Wolves are not a team that will dominate you from an attacking wave after wave after wave of attack, but they will chip away and create good quality chances. And it was no more or less than Wolves deserved, to be honest with you, by the end of the game. To win 1-0 was probably a fair result. Having said that, Bowen still had a couple of chances and one a great shot opportunity and a header from a corner. We could easily have nicked to 1-0, but that's what it would have been, nicking a 1-0. It just goes to show, I suppose, from a West Ham point of view, the intensity you need to play at to be able to beat West Ham. You can't just turn up and do it. But Wolves were good. Wolves were very good. And you mentioned earlier, like second from game week 3 onwards.
I think so.
But yeah, they've the last 6-7 weeks they've been very good.
But then we've
building
been aware
a style
of
play. Jimenez is definitely coming back to form. I think Wolves looked in good shape. West Ham had an off day, no panic here. Could easily go and lose the next 3, but still no panic here.
We've known with Wolves' fixtures, right? I mean, essentially, this was the toughest one.
Yeah.
Game week 4 to 14, arguably this was Wolves' toughest fixture. And that's why obviously people have gone on sort of Jimenez for a sustained period. And he's ticking over absolutely great. I thought the finish was brilliant. Such a good goal. And again, I've not seen much of the game, but I would advise something wasn't right with you at the weekend.
Well, intensity wasn't there and we couldn't keep the ball. Simple as that.
And I say this, there's a couple of things that spring to this. One is the substitutions in the game. So Fornals, Ben Rama and Bowen all got substituted during the game. Yeah. Someone went off on the hour mark, wasn't it? Fornals went off after 59.
Just after the goal.
And then chasing the game. Yeah. When did the goal come?
No, sorry. I'll tell you now exactly.
I know Bowen and Suj. Ben Rama went off with 20 minutes to go. Was the goal before that or after?
The goal was before.
Yeah, okay.
The goal came before the substitution.
So chasing the game, you sent on like Vlasic.
It's 2 minutes before the goal, yeah.
So you sent on Vlasic and Yarmolenko chasing it. Lanzini was already on. And that front three's obviously been a real plus for you this season. But I'd urge anybody to go back and look at the goal. Now, for me, Declan Rice has been best player in the league this year in terms of that position. Like, unquestionable. Absolutely brilliant. Bossing games for you. Brilliant. Something wasn't right with him on the goal. It's not right. Now, he's been ill during the international break. I wonder if he still was.
There was talk that he was ill on the day of the Liverpool game as well. And he just powered through the Liverpool game on basically drugs. Legal, I must add.
Just when you watch the goal back, just watch it. And it's not a major criticism of him. It's actually because Declan Rice is so good that first a ball gets played around him, he kind of puts his arms out as if to suggest who's helping me. And then actually when he's running back to kind of chase after it, there's not that intensity that I'm used to seeing in Declan Rice. Something doesn't look right in him.
We felt leggy as a team overall. It just wasn't. You got to just write it off as a bad day at the office. I think everything that came out of the manager and the players was literally, we were not good enough today, didn't deserve it. Credit to Wolves, because that's the one thing you've got to do. They did do and play particularly well. Enough to tell my head that Jimenez is my replacement for Antonio. But yeah, that nothing more than that. I mean, West Ham have got rough fixtures anyway, so you're not really looking to buy any of their players, and whoever you own, I would potentially come off. Although owning Antonio for City is fine, because he's the type of bulldozer that can cause damage.
When was the last time we got an attack and return FPL, mate? 5
weeks ago.
Perhaps? It's a while, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a while, but you don't write him off. He can easily pop up.
No, and
if there's one person that's going to return at City, it's going to be Antonio.
I think a lot of people will still own that Antonio, it's fairly obvious. I think the longer you leave it, the more difficult it's going to be to sell. And I just wonder in a lot of people's cases if there's I've got so much value built up in him. And I understand why you don't want to lose that. Plus, particularly, West Ham have 2 swings, which kind of depends on how you read the room. They go to Burnley in game week 16. You could argue that's off the end of these 3 really difficult fixtures. But is that a good fixture? It depends, right? Palace have just gone there and scored 3. And Antonio bullied them when you went and played there last year as well, it's worth saying. So you could say that's a good entry point. Then it's Arsenal away. Then after that, there really is a good little run of fixtures from game week 18 where you're definitely going to want some West Ham attacking coverage. But I wonder now, for me, looking at going in that 16 period, do I have someone for like 16, 17 who's going to be a placeholder for Antonio? Do I just go there? Or more likely, am I just going to go for Jarrod Bowen?
Yeah, exactly. You've got an alternative in the midfield where you've got 5 slots compared to 3 up top. And he's the best part of $1.5 million cheaper. If I was buying in and around that time right now, I'd probably go for Bowen over Antonio. So selling Antonio now for me and losing 0.4 in value, I'm okay with. I think I'm also helped by the fact that I've built up value in quite a few other places in my squad in the last few weeks. I've made over $1 million in 2 weeks, so I'm comfortable losing that 0.4.
We are also basically a third through the season now. At this point, in between 12 and 13, how much longer do you think he's going to stay fit?
That's also a good question.
Because one certainty as well is over this period, you look at what's coming. So you've got City Sunday, Brighton Wednesday, Chelsea Saturday. Does he even play all them 3 games?
And then we've got Europa straight after.
What's the date of the Norwich fixture that you have?
That's a very good question.
You've got a season ticket, mate. What game week is it when you play Norwich?
Norwich is game week 18. That's the 18th of December.
No, that's not right.
Norwich at home for West Ham.
Oh, it is.
Is the 18th of December.
Okay, so that's a good period. But then after that, Southampton at home is the 26th, I want to say, and Watford away is the 28th. Is he going to play? I mean, they're great fixtures. Is he going to play both of them?
It's not one that I'm bothered about owning or not owning.
I think he's a sell, actually, in most cases.
Yep.
Despite the fact
selling him this week.
we have held belief, and I think we still do, that Mikel Antonio can score in the biggest games. Like, it would not surprise me if you draw 1-1 at the Etihad at the weekend and he scores. But I think you can look at the next few and go, is he going to go big for me? No, I think it's reasonable to come off and then reassess before either 16 or 18 and go, okay, if I want one, is it now Bowen instead?
If I say I'll be selling this week, like I mentioned at the start of the show, my original move was Antonio to Jimenez. That comes with a big asterisk, which is Jota and Rafinha news. Now, if one of them two is out for long term, then I've got a problem to fix rather than a want rather than a need. Let's talk about Liverpool 4, Arsenal 0, shall we?
I missed the first half hour on the way back from the cinema, still laughing and looking through my timeline, all the tweets about
Arsenal
Man United.
were okay in the first half.
Yeah, and then Mikel Arteta lost his mind and
worked
got the crowd
hard,
up.
But the problem is, like with teams like Liverpool, you can play well and still get slapped 4-0.
But Arsenal didn't play well from when Liverpool scored.
Second half onwards, they lost their heads. But you lose your heads. 2 mistakes. The left back Tavares giving the ball away like that is dumb, and then you're 2-0 down. As soon as you go down against a side like Liverpool, you're chasing shadows. It's very difficult. But I thought Arsenal proved and showed that there is clearly a top 3 now in Chelsea, Liverpool, and Manchester City, and then the rest. And Arsenal.
We knew this anyway.
And Arsenal are not bad as one of the rest.
No, Arsenal could finish 4th,
but they're not in that elite level at all.
Nah,
we know that.
Off.
So Liverpool proved again, that top 3 are streets ahead, and Arsenal, with the performance on there and thereabouts, is decent, can give someone a good game on their day, but you can work hard, be organised, make a couple of mistakes, and then end up coming out of this game slapped 4-0.
Is an interesting one, right? Because I got asked on my deadline stream on Saturday who I'd pick in a combined Tottenham-Arsenal 11 at the moment. And I think actually there was more Arsenal players in there at the moment. But I said, you're going to have to let me come back to central midfield because this is too shit for both teams at the moment, right?
Lokonga.
Lokonga is a good young developing player, and I don't mind Thomas Partey. Lokonga had a nightmare start to the second half, and Arteta had to take him off the pitch to save the kid, basically.
Yeah,
but let me ask you, we'll throw United in there as well. Arsenal, Tottenham, Man United. If you're playing a 4-2-3-1, what 2 midfielders do you pick? And you don't even need to, because your silence tells me everything,
Matic.
Mate. I mean, what two do you pick? No, but genuinely, seriously, this is the number one reason why there is such a difference between the 3 best teams in this league and the other 3 who think they should be making up
midfield.
That period, if you want, right? Midfield. What we got here? Fred, McTominay, Matic, Partey, Lokonga, Xhaka when fit, Højbjerg, Skip, Winks. I mean, what have we got to choose from here? All 3 disastrous. And then you go to the other teams. When we've got Henderson, Fabinho, Thiago. Even we've got like Keita, Curtis Jones on the fringes. Chelsea, Jorginho, Kante. Kovacic has been brilliant when he's played this season. City, you've got anyone can play there. Kevin De Bruyne's not even fucking first choice anymore, is he? I mean, The difference is huge. In any case, just wanted to highlight that point. Not a disaster for Arsenal. Like, it can happen. I think Arsenal fans shouldn't accept the fact that it's okay to lose 4-0 at Liverpool, but they've been here before. One of the best stats from the weekend, I think, is that of all the games Arsenal have lost by 4 or more in the Premier League, now over half of them have been at Anfield.
Oh, wow.
So they get slapped up there quite a lot. Anyway, It's not a disaster. Shout out to our friend of the show, Optimus Prime, who was messaging me, why everyone think Liverpool will beat Arsenal this weekend. Yeah, that's why, mate. They've got some decent fixtures still, Arsenal. Newcastle at home this week. United away afterwards just shouldn't look as daunting as it would normally do on paper. And neither should Everton away on the Monday Night Football in game week 15 either. Southampton at home, West Ham at home, Leeds away, Norwich away. Arsenal got a decent set of kind of fixtures coming up and going into December as well. And I'll be looking at them again closely, game week 16 wild card.
Yeah.
I will. I could see me having like Aubameyang as like that kind of placeholder maybe for an Antonio or something for a little bit when it comes round. Do I really want to do that to myself? Aubameyang. But I've got my eye on them from an FPL perspective, actually. Smith Rowe, solid. Obviously, you definitely play him against Newcastle this week. Keep an eye on Arsenal.
Yeah.
I assume Kieran Tierney will come back in at left back now. I would have thought. For Liverpool,
copy paste what we say every week. They're still solid as a rock. It's that
little
Jota
bit.
Firmino debate now. Do we stick with Jota if you own him? I think you do. If you know he's fit and available for the weekend, just stick with it. Even if Firmino's back and Jota ends up coming off the bench, he can still do some damage on Southampton.
Suj messaged me on
miss
Saturday
me yet?
and said, "Do you miss me yet?" about Trent. And to be honest,
7.9 points per start.
I was enjoying watching him rip apart Arsenal too much to be thinking about missing him for my FPL team. Of course, I want him in there.
7.8 million with only 33% ownership. That Trent's been in the 50s and 60s before.
And if
he keeps going up, he could be 8 million before.
I'm in a position at the moment where I've got like Kane and Son and stuff, and I've got Jota as well, where I'm kind of taking on the likes of Trent, James, and Chilwell with these players over the next few game weeks, and it's a judgment over the 4. So obviously, if I didn't have Kane or Son, that would have kind of let me to go back to Trent. But my plan always was to go to Kane and Son from 12 to 15 and then wild card. So let's see how we land at the end. Of course, I miss him. Of course, I wish I had Trent, Cancelo, James, Chilwell at the moment. Like pretty much the majority of the listeners will be thinking at the moment, which doesn't work for me. As I said, even if Jota's out, I can't get to Trent from -4. And I've looked at it every week, and gone, does it work? Does it work? It's nearly a -8 for me every week to look at buying Trent. So I'm pretty sure I'll have him in game week 16.
Man City 3, Everton 0. Business as usual for City. Everton sliding slowly and surely. Now we know Richarlison's out for a little while as well. Do you think there's any concerns in and around Everton? I mean,
yeah, I do. I'm thinking it more week on week. I don't think it'll go down, but I can't see them finishing the top half. Can't see it.
That's 3 defeats in 4.
Look at the fixtures they've got coming up as well, Suj.
Oh, sorry. 4 defeats in 5 and then 2 draws. They haven't won for ages since Norwich.
They've got Brentford away this week, which should look like a half-decent winnable fixture on paper. They've now got Richarlison suspended. I presume Calvert-Lewin's not going to be back in time. I would have played Damari Gray up front. I might hold on to him for another week. He went off after about 10 minutes yesterday. So what now? Rondon and Iwobi in the team?
Iwobi's all right. Sorry, Sean.
After Brentford, it's the Merseyside derby. Then Arsenal at home. Palace away. You wouldn't see them getting anything at Palace at the moment, would you? Then after that, it's Chelsea away. Leicester at home. Then there's a really nice run of fixtures, which you could argue starts from Leicester. But I failed to see them doing anything in their next few games. And I obviously saw them firsthand. I went to Goodison a couple of weeks ago. Man, they're really bog average at the moment. Now, they are missing players, clearly. Mina's going to make a difference. Decore's going to make a difference. Calvert-Lewin's going to make a difference. But they might be coming back into the team through these really rough run of fixtures. I don't see them doing a lot, like Liverpool at home, Palace away and stuff like that. I think we could be in a position we get the new year and we're looking at them and going, could they? We spoke last Tuesday about the financial issues, right?
Yeah, we know.
Are they going to have to cut something off as well? Now, I don't think they sell a Richarlison or a Calvert-Lewin in January unless Newcastle drop there and go, here's a stupid amount of money. I don't think they do. But at least one of these players is almost definitely going to have to get sold next summer. Our football club's in a bad place. And I warned out on Tuesday's pod that they've got a long way to go over the next few years. They're going to get cut adrift. It's a shame. The massive football club, but I think Everton are going to be off the pace for years. And I to be honest, I can see them being in kind of the bottom 6, 7 over the next few years. And the way it's going at the moment, that's where they're going to finish this season as well. I don't think they go down. I think when they've got everyone fit, they've still got a half-decent team, but they're in trouble at the moment. You would not go anywhere near an Everton asset. If you're still sitting there with Luka Dean in your team, give me a high five. Like, well done.
How do you add a second...
Gray goes now easily with the injury as well.
How do you add a second City asset to Cancelo? Because... other than Edison, I don't know where I'd want to go.
You don't because Diaz, he's not a better asset than Chilwell or James or Trent.
For the money, no.
So unless you literally went, right, I am going 5 at the back, that's the only way you could do it. Foden is the outstanding option in midfield at the moment. I'm going to keep doing what I kept saying last year about Bernardo Silva, as I was saying every week about Gundogan. No. And then eventually I had to go and buy him. So... maybe I should look at Bernardo Silva a little bit more. I still think Foden would be the outstanding asset. You're not going for Jesus and stuff, especially when he's going to get left out randomly for a game like this. You think, oh, that looks good. Sunday, a little bit of a break after the internationals.
Yeah, funny thing with Foden, I heard on the commentary, like when England scored 50, Foden played both games for England, and they scored 15 goals, and he was the only one that didn't get anywhere near the score sheet. He hasn't scored again, but Foden's Foden. I just don't see Foden getting into my team.
I'd not thought of that. That's a brilliant statistic.
England's got 15 goals in 2 games. Foden plays both games and doesn't get on the score.
He must have had some assists and some bits, surely.
Possibly.
Someone tweet me and let me know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think he scored, did he?
He didn't. No. I'm Cancelo and that's it. Tapping out the team.
And that's why, ironically, had Cole Palmer been a forward, it'd have been going in on my team, mate, on a wild card. Because I don't see me actually getting to that City treble up at the moment. But that said, you should never have them far away from your thoughts, right? And they've got great fixtures coming up. It's going to be rotation hell over the next month or so. I think that's fairly obvious. But no, Cancelo and go at the moment. I think those who want Bernardo Silva and stuff, I think it's the wanting of the City player.
Exactly.
It's that I want the City player, and which is totally understandable. I've been there before, right? But I think I want the City player rather than looking at it and going, is Bernardo Silva actually a better FPL asset, ironically, than someone like Maxwell Cornet? My opinion is still going to be no.
Yeah.
And he's saving a lot of money in the meantime as well. Absolutely brilliant. Destroyed Everton I watched the game back last night. Destroyed Everton behind the line. Every time Everton tried to come onto City, they just played for them.
Yeah.
I think I've already said my piece on Everton. I don't want to kick them anymore.
No. Spurs 2, Leeds 1. Let's wrap up with that. We're not even going to get any time to get any Twitter questions in because we're going on so long. But you know what James does on Patreon? He does the unanswered queues for our advanced tiers. And we'll tell you why that might be worth looking at in a moment. The first half, to be honest with you, I talked about it when I talked about Wolves. There's certain teams that you don't mind. You think you can lose to on any given day because of the way they play and the intensity of Leeds. The way they were closing you guys down was fantastic. I thought Leeds in the first half deserved to go in leading and quite rightly did. I was concerned that they would go in drawing and then be like, for all as well as we've played, we haven't done well. And they just made all of your defensive-minded players feel uncomfortable because you had no time on the ball. Like Emerson Royal kept getting closed down and then giving it away and kept going down alleys, and I thought Leeds were very good in the first half. But obviously you came through, powered through in the second half, and quality told. You could have had more.
Quality told, that's fucking debatable.
Yeah,
I mean, the goals were scrappy.
I'm milking it a bit. I mean, you look at it, even like Kane when he had that chance and scuffed it and it bobbled onto the post, or Son's cross.
He's missed. You know, I see. Don't miss Big Chat. He missed one now.
Yeah, Son. It's kind of cross that ends up hitting the bar and you think, oof, but it was not a shot, it was a cross.
It's a shot that was going up miles wide, mate.
It was a shot, it was either a really bad shot or a cross. I saw expressions. We're talking about Eric Dyer's curling free kick into the top corner, Beckham-esque, that fucking actually got deflected, let's be honest. I just thought Leeds were good. Imagine if you took Son and Kane out of your team, that's the same impact that Bamford and Rafinha, not in the Leeds team, has. So you've scraped over a Leeds team without their two best attacking players. And still they did okay. I thought I heard the best phrase at the weekend was expressions using calling Daniel James Dash from The Incredibles. You know, the little character, all he can do is run fast. He can't fucking do anything else. Dash from The Incredibles. So he got on the score sheet. The way he ghosted in between two central defenders, you never want to see that kind of goal. And Harrison completely turned Emerson over.
I thought Harrison was good, actually.
Leeds were good. I like watching the way they just work like dogs.
Harrison looked more like
down.
the player that I knew I wanted in game week 1
Exactly,
a little bit.
But you're going through. Look, 3 points is 3 points at the end of the day, and you'll take it.
Just firstly on Leeds, Brighton away, then there's a couple of decent home fixtures, Palace, Brentford, then there's a dogs run. It's another one that falls into the 16 switch in terms of, I don't want to get rid of Rafinha now, I want to keep him in the team and then wildcard him out in 16 and then make a decision, do I want him back in game week 20? That's because they have a good run then from there as well. Villa, Burnley, Newcastle all at home, 3 of 4 from game week 20. So Leeds shouldn't be far from your thoughts, whether you own, you don't own. I guess for most people it's Rafinha or nothing probably at this stage. They were excellent the first half, particularly standout. I mean, man of the match, give it to fucking Tottenham players. It was Calvin Phillips by absolute miles. Went and played centre back, and I think it threw Tottenham completely. Why is he going to play centre back? We went and played centre back so you could go and follow Harry Kane, which Bielsa said via his interpreter after the game as well. That was the idea. So Phillips could go in tight to Kane when he went and played short, which is a little bit risky because I don't think it was a guarantee that Kane was going to go and play short in the game. Actually,
He had to a few times.
Phillips was great. They had two centre-backs. I quite like Llorente, actually. I've said this a number of times, although he's quite injury-prone. He played right-back. Struijk played left-back. Struijk went man-to-man with Lucas, and Llorente went man-to-man with Son. And whenever they received the ball into feet, every single time they tried to nip in and win the ball and win the turnover and break on Tottenham quickly. Why Tottenham didn't try and take Leeds players all over the pitch, I don't know. Because I think if we'd have tried to take Leeds players all over the pitch and then actually had some runners from deeper positions, we would have battered them. But we didn't do it. We played like mannequins in the first half. You literally only have to go back, watch any of the highlights and look at Leeds passing the ball at the back. The game is so easy for them. Tottenham, no pressure on the ball. You know whose fault that was in the first half?
Kane?
Nah, it's Conte's. He got his tactics badly wrong. Badly wrong. He said as much after the game. He said we needed to change our tactics at half-time. He spoke to me and said, I got it wrong. I appreciated that, rather than throwing his players under the bus. As bad as we were in the first half was on the manager, like a lot of what I've watched the last couple of years has been on the managers. Quite simply, one thing really changed in the second half. Let's get the whole team higher up the pitch. The two wing-backs played like wingers. On goal kicks, we had a line of a front five. What are you going to do now, Leeds? Do you want to press? Because we're going to go direct and go beyond you. And it changed the game. Leeds got deeper. We had a bit of territorial advantage. The crowd got up. We scored a couple of lucky goals. We did not deserve to win that game.
Yeah.
That's the game in a nutshell, basically.
Any regrets on tripling up on Spurs?
No.
Because I feel happy that I don't have Son and anyone else on top of Kane at the moment.
No. Because I think it's still about the 14-15 games for me, and that's why I wouldn't advise to sell. And I don't think there's a fear in going to Burnley now after kind of some of the sloppiness I've seen from them at the weekend, actually, as well. And I know, because I say it all the time about Burnley, between defence and midfield, if you can get the ball into those areas, someone like Son running at Burnley, we've seen him score a goal with a long mazy run before, can certainly have some run. If Kane then moves in front of that, fine. Kane, by the way, second highest distance covered on the pitch yesterday. Only Harry Winks covered more ground. Yes, more than any Leeds player. I think Tottenham may have outrun Leeds. I don't know if Rafinha just runs a lot and that gets their running statistics up. Not bad for Leeds because, yeah, horrendous with the players out. Rafinha, Rodrigo, Ayling, Bamford, Firpo only came on as substitute. Got a lot of players absent. I think Adam Forshaw allows them as well. Like, they couldn't have played that system a couple of weeks ago with Phillips at centre-back because they wouldn't have someone else good enough to do the job Forshaw did. I thought he played quite well. The boy Gelhardt up front looks a real talent.
Yep.
They were unlucky, Leeds. They were unlucky a little. I think if I was a Leeds fan, I'd be disappointed with the reaction to the game after it went 2-1. Like, they never looked like they were going to get back in it from the point that we went in front. It was, I don't know what Conte was losing his shit about towards the end of the game because the game was won. Yeah. Could not see them scoring. That would be a bit disappointing, but it's no surprise with key players out injured, the intensity they play with, not really being able to make substitutes that can then change and impact the game. But they deserve something out of the game. I hope Tottenham take forward more of the second half performance and be a little bit braver. I need Antonio Conte's Tottenham to be braver, particularly over these next 3 fixtures, because they're all winnable. They're all winnable. And no, I would not be selling Son or Kane. On a different day yesterday, Kane scores the 1-on-1, doesn't he? Mm-hmm. Son's corner flag shot deflects in.
That would have been an own goal.
Well, he would get credited the assist, though, wouldn't he?
Probably.
And then suddenly you're putting an extra 7 points minimum on top of your tally, right? So no concerns. I spoke last week saying that I thought Leeds was an awful first home fixture for Conte because of what they are. They are like nothing else. And if you want to hear me talk about Leeds more, vote for them in the People's Poll vote, which is now live.
Lovely, jubbly. Do you want to tell everybody what we've got left and as content for the rest of this week? We'll give a little plug to our Patreon as well as announcing the Christmas present, which I'll do. And I've got 2 questions from the Twitter questions.
Is one of them from my wife?
Nah.
That's a relief. Coming up this week, People's Poll vote is live till, I'm going to say around about 5-6 p.m. UK. Don't quote me on that. 3 options for you. We're going to talk tactics. We're either going to talk about Leeds' man-to-man tactical system, Chelsea's wing-back system under Thomas Tuchel, or how we would go about fixing Manchester United tactically, which looks broken at the moment. You can vote for either of them for any of your podcasts tomorrow. Sky Fantasy Wednesday. Thursday's clash of correspondences, Arsenal versus Newcastle with 3-5 Who, an FPL footballer. I'll be streaming 3 o'clock UK time on YouTube on Friday. Deadline stream 10 a.m. Saturday morning. Patreon intermediate tier podcast this week are Q&A today. Tomorrow's UCL Fantasy Game Week 5 preview. Wednesday Tottenham. Thursday's quiz. I haven't decided a theme. I need to do that shit. And Game Week 13 preview Friday.
Lovely. Jubbly. A lot of content coming at you this week. And if you need more than the free content and you do want to join our Patreon, you can find it on patreon.com/Planet FPL. We have 3 tiers of patrons, £3, £8 or 14 quid, but it will translate to whatever currency you are if you are listening around the world in December, which is now only 8 days away, James. Everybody that's at basic tier, which is only £3 a month, will get all of our intermediate tier additional podcasts, over 20 additional podcasts in December. Everybody that's in our intermediate tier will also get the additional daily piece of content that James does for the advanced tiers, which includes some talking tactics videos, the unanswered questions from the Q&A, and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. And the advanced tiers will get some more insight with James. So we're upgrading everybody by a tier. If you're interested, it means you can basically try all of our additional content for only £3 in the whole of December. No commitment long term, just a month. Check it out.
Basically, you got the pods for about, was it 13p a pod?
Roughly something like that. Yeah. We're going to do the maths.
I just tried to, but to be honest, I just did it in my calculator and I can't remember what the answer was.
We're going to do two questions off Twitter, James, just because of time. And I know there's plenty of other content that you guys want to take in as well. The first question is about you and your season ticket, James Spurs. Are you in the East Upper?
Have I been spied?
Yes.
Yes, I do sit in the East Upper.
Yes, FPL Jack says, are you in the East Upper at Tottenham? I thought I saw you today. Next time you do see James, Jack, you're more than welcome to go up to him and give him a hug.
Come and say hello. Yes, shout out James to... I met Ricky Saunders for the game yesterday, our Tottenham correspondent, and Baker from the Above Average pod as well. Lovely lads.
Nice,
met him before the game. I saw Lee and Sam in the stadium as well from FPL family. It was like a little bit of an FPL meeting of the minds going on there. Yeah, good.
Nice.
Good. I needed a few beers before that first half, I can assure you.
And FPL Naboo, what's the biggest animal you could single-handedly cling film to a lamppost? Single-handedly. So meaning that you'd have to do it yourself with no help. So something kind of that fat. Like a giraffe?
You don't mean single-handed as one hand. You mean single-handedly by yourself.
By one person, yeah.
A giraffe? What the fuck?
They've got long legs, and you're just getting the legs, like the body's way up high.
Suj, man.
The giraffe, man.
Giraffe's going to stand on your head.
Nah, they're beanpole legs, bro. I could do a giraffe.
How are you going to... The giraffe's just going to break through the cling film anyway.
Giraffe. I'm going for giraffe.
Nah, mate. Like
Is that a poodle?
Like a cat or something. A cat or a rabbit.
James is going to cling film a rabbit to a lamppost.
This
I'm going to
feels
video.
really
It's going
bad.
on TikTok. Do find us on TikTok. We're not on TikTok, but we might be one day. Listeners, that's a rundown of all of the games in the main pod as we do each and every week. As the week goes on, the game week 13 mist will become a little bit clearer. We never know. We might even get an announcement from the Red Devils and a whole bunch more. So make sure you're subscribed to the podcast wherever you are listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay safe. Back at you tomorrow. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other. Cue music, please, man child.